topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where we bring you the finest experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. I got to tell you, we do a live show, which is really unheard of now most days with podcasts. Most podcasts are all pre-recorded. We like to do ours live, but the only problem with doing a live show, you've got the internet problems. And I didn't even have a chance to talk to our great producer, Rebel. Twitter, X, Facebook, all went down in South Florida. Just went down. And they came up about 3 minutes ago. So that tells me we were meant to do this show. Someone out there all over the country is going to be listening and say, I've got a tax problem and I've been putting it off. Well, no longer. Today we've got my friend. And I don't call too many of my experts my friend, but I do call Barry Fowler, who's been with us for about 12 or 13 years. He's the president and the founder of Taxation Solutions, Inc. He's an enrolled agent licensed to represent taxpayers. He's been doing this, folks, for the last 40 years. And I'm going to tell you something, to be in business that long in the tax relief area is almost unheard of with all the complaints out there about tax relief companies. But Barry has built up one of the finest companies. His experience in the tax and finance industry spans, like I said, over 40 years. So he has got so much expertise. But what I love about this guy is he's out there for the people. He's not out there to make a fast buck. And we're going to go through all the things that Barry Fowler and Taxation Solutions offers you. Good morning, Barry.
Hey, good morning, Steve. Oh, man, it's great to be here and doing another show with you, helping people and talking about tax problems. Hey, the other day we were talking about reviews and stuff. And so I came into the office this morning and pulled up checking emails, seeing who we've got to get stuff done for. And Better Business Bureau, BBB, sent me a link because a customer gave me a review. Now, we don't ask our customers for reviews. So, hey, it's either somebody going in and choosing to do a review. This gentleman we helped, Billy, wrote a fantastic review on us and about our service and about our staff. And it was kind of funny because we helped him and we resolved his tax problem, but something I didn't know. So he came to us because he had a tax problem. He'd been using a guy to do his taxes and books for 14 years. He's a truck driver. He came to us to use us to solve the tax problem. We convinced him he needed to do good bookkeeping. And so he used us, but he kept paying for the other service. And so for a whole year, he paid for our service and that service to compare. And he goes, there's just absolutely zero comparison between you and them. You're so much better. And, he was very complimentary about all of our staff here, how well they took care of him, kept him informed. And being a trucker, being able to stay organized and having somebody that people that are on him to keep him organized and keep it going. He just said it was well worth every dime he spent to get his tax problem resolved and to continue doing his bookkeeping and taxes, right here with truckertaxtools.com and, solving the tax problems with taxation solutions, tax relief. And I thought it was kind of funny. It was interesting that we got this review all of a sudden, and we just talked about how we don't
Right.
go to people for reviews, but one of our clients went and did it on their own, and it's fantastic. I love it.
It kind of reminds me of the letters that we get here about your show. Most of them, the first thing they say is, I've never written a letter before on all the podcasts I listen to, but I enjoy listening to yours so much that I just had to write and just thank you. Uh, Today is our national show. We did a show yesterday for the Houston area. And Barry, you've got your own show Mondays right after our show that we do on Mondays with you. And I believe it's at 10 o'clock Eastern time.
That's correct. 10 o'clock Eastern time. It's called Tax Talk for You. Man, we talk about everything taxes, business related. Yesterday's show was because we had questions that came in from people that prospective clients asking, should they go into business for themselves? Should
I
they
saw that, the title.
trucking business, or should they just open up any kind of business out there? And so I had a great show about starting a business. So if you want to see a podcast about starting a business and what it might take, what kind of attitude it takes, you can go back to taxtalk4u.com and see the podcast there, or you can look them up over on iHeart, Spotify, any place you guys can get podcasts. Our podcasts it's just Tax Talk for You. I enjoy doing this program because, doing something with Ask the Experts, we get information out as an expert talking about tax relief, what we can do or how you can solve problems. And, with Ask the Experts, it's not just tax relief. It's all kinds of different experts out here talking, across the nation about helping people with different and various problems that they need expert help with. Even if you want to do it yourself, you need some expert advice at times. And this is a great place to be. Ask the Experts.
Hey, Barry, you know what I was thinking the other day when we did our first show in Denver and you came in for the show? Our first call was from Hawaii. I don't know if you remember. It's been so long ago, but I will never forget. It was Hawaii, and I whispered to Barry, "Do you cover Hawaii?" You said, "Of course we do." You remember that?
Oh yeah. We have clients in Hawaii. We have clients in Alaska. We have them all across the country. That particular person didn't end up being a client, but my wife and I took a trip out to Hawaii. And while I was on that trip, we actually signed our first Hawaiian client for tax resolution to solve the tax problem. And part of that was because of Ask the Experts, that they had also heard us on Ask the Experts and said, hey, we can't find anybody out here to help us that is any good. Can you do it? And I'm like, yeah, I'm even here. You're in Hawaii? Yeah, I am in Hawaii right now. We're out here vacationing. So it was kind of cool. We ended up leaving there and ended up getting 2 or 3 more from Hawaii. And at the same time, we were getting them from Alaska and stuff. The most interesting thing that's happening right now in 2 big states that keep calling us is New Mexico. They must be going after collections really hard for people that owe New Mexican income tax.
Wonder
And
why.
Oklahoma.
Wow.
So, if you're in those states and you owe the state taxing authorities money, we can help you resolve those issues with them as well. So not only do we deal with the IRS, but we also deal with state problems as well.
Barry, also thinking about we have been getting a lot of letters from North Carolina and people who were involved with the hurricane and people wanting to know about tax relief. Uh, I guess it's affected taxpayer. Do you know anything about that at all?
Oh yeah, I mean they give all kinds of relief because of the hurricane damage and the
Right.
damage throughout the state. Um, any storms, and this is not just for North Carolina, but right now for North Carolina, they do give a lot of relief. And so you've just got to know how to work through the programs to get that relief within, for that state and that area that has been affected. If you're outside of the affected areas, you're not going to be able to get the same kind of relief that they were. But, even sometimes in Tornado Alley in the Midwest,
Yes.
uh, sometimes anywhere along the Gulf Coast or even, the Eastern Coast that gets affected by hurricanes and stuff like that, you can at times get relief because of the storm and the damages and everything else that's out there. We work with people in these areas very easily, and we make it as simple and easy as possible, just like we did for Billy in resolving his tax problem. We do that for all of our clients in trying to make it as easy as possible. And not only that, we're kind of considered to be the stress relievers.
Yes.
It's not taking a Tylenol or Advil or anything else to relieve your stress. It's actually putting the burden on stress of somebody else. So can you imagine you're full of stress because, hey, not only you have to deal with the hurricane damage and the storm damage, but you're also dealing with your tax problem. Well, your tax problem you can unload. You can call Taxation Solutions Tax Relief at 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477. And say, Mr. Fowler, please take this stress off me. We'll put it on our shoulders. We'll take it over. You can go get a decent night's sleep, the best you can, and not have to worry about your tax problem. We're going to take care of it for you and with you. Now, we're going to still need your help. Doesn't mean, hey, you just unloaded it, we're just going to do everything else. It means we're going to work with the IRS. You never have to, but you got to continue to work with us to get us the documents that we need to be able to help you as well. So it's not just offloading everything and saying, hey, I can forget about it. It's offloading it and saying somebody else is going to deal with the IRS, and you don't have that stress anymore or worry that they're going to come after you or the assets, your home, your bank accounts. We're going to be able to control what's going on in the IRS as long as you're participating with us and make your life a lot easier and take that living hell and put it to the side and let us deal with them. And that's really one of the best parts about having Taxation Solutions Tax Relief on your side, in your court, and in front of you before the IRS.
I got to tell you that we spoke yesterday on our Houston show about people who were embarrassed. I mean, they were embarrassed to pick up the phone because they hadn't paid their taxes. And I love the way you handle those people, Barry, because, I mean, of course, this is all you do and you see it every day, but people don't think about it when it's their problem. They're a little embarrassed. I got to say, they're a lot embarrassed, and they don't need to be. And you treat them with kid gloves.
We have a no judgment zone here, and we don't pass judgment when you call. We don't pass judgment, when we're working with you. What we need to do is just fix the problem. Now, sometimes you call us and the problem really isn't you. It's the IRS, and we got to fix them. Sometimes the problem really didn't start with you, but it started with your preparer that you had doing your return. and we got to fix that. And sometimes you just didn't have the money to pay it, and you still don't. Then we got to find a solution. There's not a judgment. You shouldn't feel bad calling us. We've heard it all. If we hear something new and different, hey, we'll probably tell you, hey, that one's new. But I've been in this business a long time. Nobody really surprises me anymore. Back in the day, we used to get surprised every now and then that, somebody comes to us with some kind of new problem that we've never heard of, or that reason why it happened. We don't need the reason. We just need to find the solution. We're going to talk about it because maybe we can get some more penalties reduced because you have a good reason. Maybe there was a sickness in the family. Maybe there was a reason you couldn't file. Any number of things can happen in life. And when those things happen, you just need a solution and fix it and move on and get your life back in order. Get your life back in your hands, not under the control of the IRS or the fear of the IRS or the fear of what's going to happen, but get yourself back moving in the right direction so that, hey, you can go out and live your life, enjoy your life, because that's what it's meant to be. You're meant to enjoy your life, not be looking over your shoulder what's going to happen, what the IRS is going to do, what the state is going to do when they come after money, because there isn't one single government that collects income tax that isn't money hungry. And everything you have, they think is theirs. And theirs is spelled the IRS. So thus, everything the IRS sees is theirs. And, it's the way we kind of laugh about it and go, hey, you ever think about how they put those two words together? Must have been done by the IRS because everything is theirs until you pay them off. And then it's yours. And so get rid of the IRS, get them off your back, find a tax solution. And that's what Taxation Solutions does, is find that solution to your tax problem to give you the tax relief you and your family need to get your life
Barry,
back.
I am dying to read this text that just came in. This is from Monte in Anchorage, Alaska. He says, this is the third show I've watched, and I just want to let you know that when I hear your stories about truck drivers, there's also stories about bush pilots. There are literally hundreds and thousands of us in Alaska that have the same problem that truck drivers do. I am passing along your website to our group because I think many of them need your service. I would have never thought about that, Barry.
Me either, but
Bush
hey,
pilots.
his name was Monty.
Monty, yeah.
Hey, Monty, we're going to actually be up in Alaska this summer coming up. So June of 2026,
Wow.
we're going to be in Alaska. So, hey, when I'm up there, we need more clients. So if we got bush pilots that need our services, man, we could set something up to work with them just like we do with truckers. It would be our pleasure to help them out. That's news to me. It's a new industry. Love to look
whoever
a lot more
thought
into
that?
it and make things work.
Hey, if you're going to Alaska, you got to get used to 2:00 in the morning. It's daylight there. It's daylight all night long. It's really strange. But I never thought about that, Barry. Bush pilots, because they're bigger, I would think, than truckers are in Alaska.
Oh yeah, by far. Hey, Monty, give us a call at 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477. Hey, I would love to talk to you more about bush pilots. I would love to find out information about them and how we could actually be of service to that industry up there. So it would be actually our pleasure to help people out.
That was a good text. God, I've got so many questions here, Barry. This is from Becca. She's in Los Angeles. Can I stop the IRS collections or garnishments while I'm exploring my options?
Yes, at times we can put holds in place for you to explore the options. And maybe we've got to put some plans temporarily in there that would give us the time to do it. And then, depending on how long you've already extended them out, we may have to do a little bit more rush of getting this right solution and put it in place quicker. What we do with somebody like you is we start out with a tax analysis, put all our ducks in a row, sit down with you and talk about, hey, this is the three things that we need to do, get it moving down that path so we can get the solution in place as quick as possible and get delays and holds for as long as we need to be able to get to that solution for you.
Carl in Nashville, I have never written a show like this before, but I'm enjoying your show so much. And I need to know, will tax relief affect my credit or future tax refunds?
So tax relief, yes, in itself does not affect your credit. Your debt with the IRS, if they put a lien on you, affects your credit. If we put a solution like an offer in compromise in place, after a period of time, that lien will go away and it will improve your credit. If we're able to put an installment agreement together, there is a time that we can actually go and ask them to have that lien removed, which would improve your credit. But if you get an offer in compromise, the debt goes away as long as you stay in compliance, and it would improve your credit score. So the debt itself is going to have a negative impact.
I don't know if this is a business tax problem or a individual, but Jordan in El Paso wants to know, what documents do I need to prepare before we start the relief procedure process?
Well, realistically, the first thing you need to do is just give us a call at 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477. You don't have to prepare anything. What we're going to do is have a conversation. We're going to talk. We're going to make sure that you're going to be able to qualify for a good solution and what that solution would be. We're going to do a transcript analysis and look at everything the IRS has on you, and then be talking to you and have you fill out at that time a financial worksheet for us so that we can do a more in-depth analysis of what that solution is going to look like. And then at that point, we'll be ready to prepare documents to go after whatever that solution is. And we'll work together to make sure we put it all together the right way. So when we're going in and filing the 433A and 433B or the 656, we've got everything that we need to support your financial well-being with the IRS to determine that, hey, the offer in compromise or partial pay installment agreement or the installment agreement or non-collectible status is the correct status for you. And we help you by putting everything together in the right way, in the right light, to get the best solution possible.
Michael in Philadelphia wants to know, and this is a great question. I think this is the first time anyone's asked this. He wants to know, how can taxpayers have penalties removed if they were assessed in error? Does your company do that?
Yes, we will actually sit down and go through that complete tax analysis and determine that these penalties were charged in error. The good news when we do penalty abatement after we do the tax analysis is we charge nothing up front. We only charge if we're successful. So if we're going after penalty abatement, because the IRS likes to rule in their own favor, we're very successful at getting penalties removed, but at times we're not. So we don't charge you unless we are successful. And then we only charge based on what you're actually getting the penalties removed for. Now, that being said, if these were charged in error and they rule in their favor, we will go through the extreme of appealing to get these penalties removed and showing proof of reason why the IRS should have never charged those penalties to begin with. But you got to give us a call, 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477. It's a free call, free consultation. Let's talk about it and let's see what we can do for you.
This is kind of related to this is from Robert in Tampa. He wants to know, can you get interest penalties waived?
IRS does not waive interest. Now, when we get the penalty removed, if you were to have penalties removed and there was interest on those penalties, that interest goes away. But interest on your tax debt and interest on penalties that are not removed will not be reduced by the IRS for any reason whatsoever. Now, if we're able to go in and fix the debt, let's say your taxes were filed wrong, and we go in and amend the returns, or we file an original return because they had a substitute for a return, and we make the amount that you owe the correct amount, they'll reduce the interest down to what should have been interest based on the actual proper tax amount that should have been assessed. So there's a lot of different things we can do to help you resolve the tax problem. That sometimes it lowers the debt and saves you money. But if the debt is 100% correct and there's not anything we're going to do about it, they're not going to waive it. But if you do an offer in compromise, it's compromising the original tax amount assessed plus penalties and interest would all be compromised down to one payment.
Here's kind of a neat one. This gentleman, Merck, M-U-R-K, Merck from, never heard of this town. Anyway, looks like, I think it's supposed to be Wichita. I think his computer screwed up. I think it's supposed to be Wichita. But he wants to know, he said, I am horrible at saving receipts. Is it going to be difficult to prove my expenses if I don't have all my receipts?
Well, if they're cash receipts and you spent cash, it's going to be difficult to prove those expenses. If you're running a business and you're running your stuff through your business checking account, we will be able to use the business checking account to prove your expenses that's out there. So a lot of times us at truckertaxtools.com working with truckers, a lot of them don't have the receipts. Now, if they do spend cash, we make sure they try to get those receipts to us because we can't track cash, but we're able to track what they're doing at different truck stops, if they're buying fuel or food or whatever, based on what is being charged through their credit card or through their debit card on their account, or through their truck stop credit cards that they may have as well. So you don't necessarily need to have every single receipt that's out there. Now, I will tell you, if you're doing a large purchase, equipment or something like that, yes, you got to make sure we have those receipts so that you have that large purchase item accounted for and tracked, so that the IRS, if they ever came back and audited you, you're not looking at a small ticket item. They're looking at sometimes the big ticket items.
So, Barry, is using cash really not a good idea?
Well, cash is harder to track. If you lose the receipt and you didn't take a picture of it, didn't send it in to us to do your bookkeeping, I can't do anything for you of what you spent. There's no deduction for it because you can't track cash. If you put it through your debit card and on your checking account or something like that, that's easy to track. We can track that when we're doing the bank reconciliations and doing the transactions through your bank or credit card. So that's kind of the difference that's out there. So if you ran in made a purchase and you spent $100 in cash, you lose the receipt. I'll be honest, most of the time when somebody's doing bookkeeping, you don't even remember you spent the $100 on that piece of equipment or part or whatever you bought. It was just cash. It's one of those things that you're not really thinking about. But if you put it on a debit card, the transaction's able to be traced.
Barry, I got to get this on here because it's probably no big deal to you, but I think it's incredible. I think your IRS playbook that you developed just kind of shows how much you really care and want to help people. Tell people about the playbook.
So if you go to www.irsplaybook.info, that is our playbook. This is the 3 simple steps we take to resolve everybody's tax problem. It's the 3 simple steps that I've used basically now for 40 years fighting the IRS. God, I say that and I feel old. Hey, I got to be honest, man. I started doing taxes when I was knee high to a grasshopper. And,
there it is.
So I was really young when I started doing taxes. And it was in the 80s when I started doing some representation against the IRS as a young CPA and now as an old enrolled agent, fighting the IRS. So we took all these years of experience and broke it down to the 3 simple steps that you can use to resolve your tax problem. Now, is it the be all end all? No, it is the steps that you need to take to get to a resolution. Where is it going to go? How are you going to resolve that? So go to irsplaybook.info. It's all information is what it is. So go over there, check it out. We want you to get the information to resolve your IRS issue. Whether you hire us or not, you need to be armed with information. And there's a lot of bad YouTube videos out there to how to do certain things. Some of those guys you don't want to follow. Some of those guys, aren't really telling you like it is. But this is your starting point to get started to put a solution in place for yourself.
Wow, you just gave me the greatest lead in. So yesterday after your show, and we've not a lot, but we get a few of these. There's CPAs that listen to your show across the country. And a gentleman called me yesterday. He wants to do a show like yours, which is impossible. But he said to me, I've never really done much when it comes to dealing with the IRS, but I heard there's a lot of money in it. So I'm going to hang my shingle up and start promoting myself. But here's a guy that really doesn't have any experience, and we get calls like this once in a while. Barry, you cannot replace the experience that you've had over the last 40 years dealing with the IRS. And I just want people to be cautious. Just because it says CPA after their name doesn't mean their experience working with these really high-powered IRS agents.
We hear the stories all the time. We had a gentleman just call last Friday. His business has payroll tax problems. And he says, I've been working with my CPA for 15 years and I've just got this tax problem. And now I've got this summons to come in. What do I do? And I was like, well, you have a CPA. And is he not dealing with the problem? He's been dealing with this, but he's got the 2848, but they've got the summons now. Well, it means he hasn't been doing anything.
Right.
What's he doing? Well, I don't know, but he's taking care of it. So do I really need you? One, you have a summons in your hands. That summons means somebody hasn't been providing the IRS with information, whether that is you, the client, or your CPA, one of the two. How much representation does he do? Well, he doesn't usually do anything, but he said he could handle all this.
Yeah.
Well, we see this all the time. I belong to some associations and they try to sometimes teach people. I've seen people that have been in this business that think, hey, I can teach every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there that has a CPA initials behind it to do this. I can teach anybody to do representation. No, and they even tell people, hey, you can't make any really major mistakes in this. Oh, yes, you can make major mistakes in this business that affects people's life. So experience matters. It's kind of like when you go into business, they say location, location, location. When you're dealing with the IRS, it's experience is what really matters when you have to fight the IRS.
This is from Greer in Norfolk. He wants to know, what are the downfalls of an installment agreement? Can I get myself in deeper trouble?
If you can afford the installment agreement they want to put you on, God bless you. Pay it. You're not going to get yourself in trouble as long as you can pay what they're wanting. Now, if you can't afford to pay what they want, maybe you need to rearrange some things and you need some time, then maybe we need a stepped installment agreement. Maybe, depending on where you are, and one of the reasons we do a full in-depth tax analysis is maybe you're closer to those CSEDs. CSEDs is statute of limitations when the debt goes away. And we need to put a partial pay installment agreement plan in place where you pay far less and it gives time for the debt to fall off and you save money. Or maybe realistically, you're just agreeing to get the IRS off your back, but you're going to default. That's a big mistake in itself because you've now given them all this information and they're coming after getting as much money as possible. And then they're going to make even worse collections activity against you. And you need to put maybe an offering compromise or non-collectible status or something else in place that gives you that tax relief. So, the answer to that question is all over the board. But if you can afford the installment agreement the IRS wants to put you on to pay off your debt in full, then there is nothing wrong with that. It's just you've got to explore your options and see what's available and what's better than possibly doing that.
Sheila in Las Vegas wants to know, does bankruptcy get rid of past due taxes?
Yes, no, maybe. How do you like that answer, Sheila?
I love it.
Depends on how long ago you filed your tax returns and how old the debt is. It depends whether your attorney actually does what he's supposed to do and includes it in the bankruptcy if it does qualify. So that's where your yes, no, and maybe comes in. If it's more recent tax debt, they're not going to include it in your bankruptcy. So you may need a couple of different steps in the process. If there's other debts you're trying to get rid of in going through bankruptcy, you may be left with tax debt that you have to pay. And then we would have to work with you to set up maybe a offering compromise or a partial pay. And maybe it might be better to go after the offering compromise first because you're basically insolvent. Get rid of all the debt, and then you can file your bankruptcy after that for your other debts. So there's a lot of different options out there that we can work with to help find ways to save you money. Now, I've seen attorneys tell people just to get them in to do bankruptcies that all taxes will qualify for bankruptcy. Well, that's just not true. You can see it in the Internal Revenue Manual. You can see it in the IRS code. You can Google it, what will qualify and what will not to be discharged in bankruptcy or be lowered in bankruptcy. So you kind of watch out what people are telling you. You can use Google to see what the tax debts that will or won't qualify.
It's amazing. These are all surprise questions to Barry, and I put them down as they come in. Our next question was Barbara in Plano, Texas, says, I always hear you talk about offer and compromise. What is an offer and compromise?
Well, an offering compromise is basically that ultimate solution you hear on the radio from all these advertisers that go out there and talk about tax relief. Hey, you need an offering compromise. It's a settlement of your tax debt with the IRS. Now, does that mean you're going to settle for pennies on the dollar like they advertise? God forbid. Some people will settle for a very low amount. Other people will settle for a little bit higher amount. Other people won't qualify at all. People don't tell you those things. If in the IRS's world, using national standards and the other numbers that they need to have in there that they allow for expenses, if it comes out that you cannot afford to pay using the IRS's national standards and stuff, then you can settle your debt for far less than what you owe. However, if the IRS determines when you file an offering compromise that you can afford to pay this over the full statute of limitations, they're going to want you to be on a payment plan. So we've got to look at it, weigh out exactly what the IRS is going to expect from you. And if your income, equity in home, equity in your IRAs or retirement accounts or cash value life insurance is enough to pay off your debt or enough to pay down the debt, the IRS is going to want that money first before they would come in and do an offer. So your offer may look like, if you've got $50,000 of equity in your house after, your loans and the discounted fair market value of your house, they're going to expect that offer to be the 50,000 plus whatever other income you would have as well. So the offer is where you offer to the IRS X number of dollars to settle your debt based on all these other factors that are out there. So it's not simple and easy, cut and dry, as some people make it seem. You've got to jump through a lot of different hoops to get there. And then once you get an accepted offer and compromise, you've got to stay 100% in compliance for 5 years after that for the offer to be completely discharged. Not to mention, you've got to be 100% in compliance while the offer is pending as well. So there's a lot of different things you've got to do as a taxpayer to qualify for that offer and compromise.
And what happens, Barry, if you get a new job, say 5 or 6 months later, making a lot more money? Can they come back on you?
As long as that offer has been accepted, they do not come back on you. Now, if you get that job and that offer is pending, that offer will be thrown out because now you have more income and you can then probably afford to pay. So a great example is we had a client, we got an offer in, we had submitted it. He went out and got a new job. He went from making $2,000 a month to $8,000 a month. He was extremely happy, but his offer and compromise, when they got to processing the offer, was immediately rejected because he now had enough income coming in to pay his debt in full. If he would have just waited 6 more months to take a job like that, his offer probably would have been accepted at the number we had it at, and he would not be paying the IRS any more than what the offer was. So he went from paying $10,000 on an offer to having to do a full pay offer on almost $250,000 because he wasn't patient enough to let the offer go through. Now, everything he was making above that $2,000, guess who's getting that money? IRS. So he's now basically working to pay them, and that great salary he was getting is going mostly to the IRS to pay his debts. So you just kind of got to be patient. If you do file an offer, we don't want anything to change in your life. We want it to stay consistent. And that way we can get the offer submitted, accepted, and approved.
I'm really loving all these people who are writing in from all over the country. Tracy in Bloomington, she said, a friend of mine told me that they're on a non-collectible status. What is that?
So non-collectible status is you've proved to the IRS that you don't have the wherewithal to pay them anything right now. So that means they've put you in non-collectible status. That status will stay there for at least roughly 2 years. If they see something drastic change in your life, you get a better job, collections can restart and they can come and ask you for money and payments on your tax debt. We use non-collectible status mostly for people that are maybe in retirement, or they're not going to see, maybe have a disability and not going to see any future increases in income. Or possibly they have some assets that they can't access right now, and they need to be into a status where the IRS does not collect anything. And maybe we can use it to get to the end of statute of limitations as well. So there's a lot of uses for it depending on the person. You may have assets that you need protecting that you don't want to use to pay the tax debt, and we can get you into a non-collectible status and until life changes and get you the wherewithal to pay. Or maybe you're never going to change what your income is going to be, and non-collectible status is a great place to let the statutes run out and the debt go away.
Barry, you've got your show on Mondays at 10. That's Eastern time. And I wanted to see, let me see if I can get this in. You can, thought that someone was just telling us the sound. Barry, tell people how they can reach you. And Barry's with us twice a month. We do a Houston show once a month, and this is our national show we do. And Barry, I got to tell you, it's just so easy doing your show. It's funny. I was looking at the clock, and next thing I know, we're getting a sign, 2 minutes left. It's amazing how fast your show goes by. But, bro, first of all, I want you and your family to have a wonderful and blessed Thanksgiving. We so appreciate your show, and I can't thank you enough.
Man, it's my pleasure to be here. I enjoy all the questions. None of this is scripted, so it's whatever questions people send in, and we get the answers out there to them, and it's my pleasure to help them. I hope everybody has a very blessed Thanksgiving, especially you, Steve-O, and your family. It's one of these things you got to be thankful to be in this great country. We're thankful to be of service to people and to help them. If you have a tax problem, I know it's not something anybody's going to talk around at the Thanksgiving table, but if it does come up, hey, tell them to go to taxationsolutions.net to get the tax relief they need. Or get a piece of paper and pencil and write this down. Call us at 877-996-6477. Again, it's 877-996-6477 to get the tax relief you need to make your life a little bit less stressful, put your tax problem behind you, get somebody to step into your shoes and work for you against the IRS. And that's what we do. It's a free call, free consultation. Hey, I'm giving very discounted tax analyses out right now until we hit our limit. So if you have a tax problem, get in and call us right away so you can get one of these deeply discounted tax analysis we do for our clients to save money. And again, just write this down. It's 877-996-6477. 877-996-6477. Hey, as always, you can see these podcasts, Ask the Experts, on iHeart, Spotify, all the places out there. If you need information, find us at Ask the Experts or taxtalkforyou.com. Thank you, Steve-O.
Love you, bro. See you soon. That's Barry Fowler, Taxation Solutions. Barry's been with us for like 14 or 15 years. It's amazing. And we love having him on. You know, if you've got a business, if you're an attorney or a doctor, financial or home improvement, call us at 954-336-3767. We'd love to get you on our show. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week, right before Thanksgiving. Anyhow, we'll see you next week. Thanks, Rebel, for all your great work. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.